Timberland, the legendary music producer, has transformed his immense talent and creativity into a fortune, amassing a staggering net worth of $885 million. Known for crafting chart-topping hits with icons like Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, and Justin Timberlake, Timberland has earned his place as one of the most innovative and influential figures in the music industry. His groundbreaking work in music production, particularly his innovative approach to beats, has left an indelible mark on pop culture. Yet, beneath the glamorous success and fame lies a much darker story, a tale of personal struggle, controversy, and a relentless battle with his demons. Timberland's journey to fame began in Norfolk, Virginia, where he grew up. His life took a drastic turn at the age of 17 when he was shot in the neck by a coworker while working at a restaurant. The injury left him partially paralyzed for 9 months, and during this challenging time, Timberland found solace in music. He became deeply involved in music production, experimenting with unconventional sounds like using garbage cans, spoons, and plates to create beats when he couldn't afford professional equipment. This resourcefulness and his passion for music laid the foundation for his future as a music mogul. As Timberland rose to prominence, his collaborations with Justin Timberlake became particularly noteworthy. The duo produced a series of hits such as My Love, Carry Out, and Cry Me a River, which solidified Timberland's status as a musical genius. His ability to understand and channel the emotions of artists into their music made him a sought-after producer. But as Timberland's success grew, so did the pressures of fame, leading him into a series of controversies that would tarnish his carefully crafted image. One of the most significant controversies involving Timberland stemmed from his association with R. Kelly and the singer Aaliyah. When the documentary Surviving R. Kelly brought to light decades of sexual abuse allegations against R. Kelly, Timberland's connection to the R&B singer came under scrutiny. R. Kelly had secretly married the 15-year-old Aaliyah when she was just starting her career, and though the marriage was later annulled, the scandal left a dark shadow over the industry. To make matters worse, a resurfaced clip from a 2011 episode of True Hollywood Story featured Timberland confessing that he had once been in love with Aaliyah when he was 23 and she was still a teenager. Though he claimed to have never acted on those feelings, the confession sparked public outrage, raising serious questions about how young artists like Aaliyah were treated in the music business. Despite the backlash, Timberland continued to thrive in the industry, but more controversies followed. In 2007, accusations of plagiarism surfaced when singer-songwriter Nelly Furtado accused Timberland of borrowing elements from her hit single Do It without giving proper credit. Timberland also faced a lawsuit over the track Throw It On Me, and was later embroiled in a high-profile case in Switzerland, where he and Jay-Z were accused of copying portions of a song by Swiss musician Bruno Sperry. These legal battles over copyright infringement cast doubt on Timberland's originality and tarnished his reputation as a pioneering producer. The weight of these controversies, coupled with the pressures of maintaining his success, led Timberland down a dangerous path. In 2011, following a dental procedure, Timberland was prescribed painkillers, including OxyContin and Percocet. His casual use of these medications spiraled into full-blown addiction, and as his dependence on the drugs grew, his personal life began to unravel. Timberland went through a messy divorce, gained over 350 pounds, and was diagnosed with prediabetes. Reflecting on this dark period, Timberland admitted that he used the pills to numb his emotional pain and deal with the pressures of fame, but the addiction nearly destroyed him. At his lowest point, Timberland had a life-changing dream where he saw himself on the brink of death. This spiritual experience, coupled with his mother's strong faith, prompted Timberland to take control of his life. He weaned himself off the painkillers without the help of rehabilitation, determined to reclaim his health and his life. Timberland swapped his lavish 14,000 square foot mansion for a more modest condo, focusing on his recovery and making a full commitment to his well-being. Timberland's recovery has been nothing short of remarkable. In addition to shedding the weight he gained during his addiction, he has turned his focus towards mentoring the next generation of music producers through his initiative, Beat Club. This platform provides up-and-coming producers with the tools and insights needed to succeed in the music industry. His creativity has also extended beyond music to children's literature, with his book Nighttime Symphony. However, not all aspects of Timberland's life have been smooth sailing. In 2023, his wife of 5 years, Monique Mosley, filed for divorce, demanding $2 million up front as well as financial support for her 2 children, one of whom was from a previous relationship. Timberland is also the father of 3 children, sons Demetrius and Frankie from a previous relationship, and a daughter named Rain with Monique. Even as Timberland continues to face personal challenges, including a 2010 incident where his house was robbed and family members feared he might harm himself, he remains resilient. Today, at 52 years old, with a net worth of $885 million, Timberland has shifted his focus from chasing fame to nurturing his health, his family, and the next wave of musical talent. His first solo project in over a decade, the EP textbook Timbo, was released in 2023, signaling that his creative journey is far from over. Despite the scandals, controversies, and personal battles, Timberland's influence on the music industry remains undeniable, and his story is a testament to both his genius and his determination to overcome adversity. Mosley grew up in Virginia with rappers Missy, a misdemeanor Guy Elliott, and Magoo. At age 19, he began to learn how to use studio equipment under the direction of producer and musician Devontae Swing, whose mispronunciation of the shoe manufacturer Timberland resulted in a new name for his protege. Timberland's inventive production skills were first evidenced on Aaliyah's 1996 hit One in a Million. Soon afterward, Timberland signed with Blackground Records as both a solo act and part of the rap duo Timberland and Magoo. In 1997, the two put out their first album, Welcome to Our World, featuring the contributions of Elliott and Aaliyah, along with the hit song Up Jumps the Boogie. It achieved platinum sales status. By the late 1990s, Timberland had developed a signature sound that made him a much sought-after and often imitated hip-hop and rhythm and blues producer. He used original beats rather than samples to create complex, syncopated rhythms and complemented them with quiet background rapping or obscure sounds such as a whinnying horse. With an uncanny knack for crafting commercially successful singles and albums, Timberland produced hits for Jay-Z, Genuine, Elliott, Ludacris, and Snoop Dogg. In the early 2000s, Timberland moved beyond the genres of hip-hop and rhythm and blues to produce albums for rock and pop stars, including Nelly Furtado, Justin Timberlake, Beck, Bjork, and Madonna. In addition to his notable work as a producer, Timberland continued to release albums both as a solo artist and in conjunction with Magoo. He created new record labels under the umbrella of Interscope, Beat Club and Mosley Music Group, and received 3 Grammy Awards for his work with Timberlake on Sexy Back 2006, Love Stoned I Think She Knows 2007, and Pusher Love Girl 2013. He also earned a Grammy for his contributions to Beyoncé's Drunken Love 2013. Timberland is similar to producers such as Norman Whitfield in that he helped to redefine the sound of an entire genre of music with an immediately recognizable production style. The songs he produces feature unusual arrangements, sounds, and instrumentation tied together by a trademark sense of rhythm. Like Spector and Whitfield, Timberland's production sometimes overshadows the credited performer and becomes the actual star of the song. With songwriter Steve Static Garrett and childhood friend Missy Elliott, Timberland has helped to create some of the most successful songs in modern pop music and urban music, including singles for Aaliyah, Genuine, SWV, Total, and 702. Mosley grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, where he became acquainted with Missy Elliott and Melvin Barcliff, whose MC name was Magoo. Originally a disc jockey known as DJ Timmy Tim, Mosley began making hip-hop backing tracks on a Casio keyboard he owned. In 1993, Elliott heard his material, and taken by Mosley's unique sense of rhythm, immediately began working with him. Elliott and her girl group Sista auditioned for Devontae Swing, producer and member of successful R&B act Jodeci. Devontae signed Sista to his Swing Mob label, and Elliott brought Mosley and Barcliff along with her. Mosley began working under Devontae, who renamed the young producer Timberland after the Timberland boot popular in hip-hop fashion. Sista and Timberland and Magoo became part of Devontae's stable of Swing Mob signees known as the Bassment Crew, joining artists and groups such as male singer Genuine, male vocal group Playa, and girl group Suga. Timberland did production work on a number of projects with Devontae, including the 1995 Jodeci LP The Show, The After Party, The Hotel, and Sista's debut LP, which was shoveled and never saw release. Timberland was also friends with Pharrell Williams and had dabbled in projects with him as SBI, or Surrounded by Idiots. Pharrell recalls in an interview, "In 7th grade, I met Chad. That's 20 years ago by now. Like I said earlier, we started producing beats together, but then again, I also played with this famous group, which consisted of Timberland, Magoo, myself, and some other guy. Chad wasn't a part of the group, so I was in the Neptunes and in Surrounded by Idiots at the same time." A few tracks produced by the group float around on the internet, the most distributed being Big White Spaceship. In 1995, most of Devontae's acts broke their ties with the producer and went their own ways. Elliott, Timberland, Magoo, Playa, and Genuine continued to collaborate and began working on individual projects of their own. Elliott began receiving recognition as a songwriter and guest artist for artists such as 702 and MC Lyte, and Timberland was sometimes assigned to produce remixes of Elliott-penned songs. One of these, the remix to 702's Stilo in 1996, became Timberland's first important production credit. Also, in 1996, Genuine released his debut album, Genuine, The Bachelor, which was produced entirely by Timberland. The album was both a commercial and critical success, and its first single, Pony, was the first example of what would later become the signature Timberland sound. The track for Pony, which Timberland had created 2 years prior during the Swing Mob days, was characterized by a shifting, syncopated rhythm, similar to samba or jungle music, which used snare and kick hits on typically non-accented beats in the measure. Stuttering hi-hats typical of Southern bass music accompanied the basic drum sounds, which were unusual for hip-hop and R&B of this period, severely gated to create short, strong sounds. This use of the short snare is in marked contrast to the long snare sound in new wave music in the 1980s, which featured a heavily amplified, almost white noise snare drum put through reverb. Accompanying the unusual rhythm were melody lines created by playing odd sound effects, vocal effects, and cartoon slide whistles through a sampling keyboard. The other tracks on Genuine, The Bachelor, also featured similar production and arrangements. On many of the tracks, Timberland can be heard either rapping or providing ad-lib, similar to what both Elliott and Puff Daddy were doing at the time. Timberland's deep voice was usually vocoded to give it an electronic sound. While work was being completed on Genuine, The Bachelor R&B artist Aaliyah contracted Timberland and Missy Elliott to write and produce most of her second album, One in a Million. The tracks that were crafted for Aaliyah featured innovative arrangements similar to those on Genuine, The Bachelor. One in a Million went on to sell over 2 million copies and made superstars out of not only Aaliyah, but Elliott and Timberland as well. Elliott and Timberland became one of the most successful and prolific songwriting production teams of the late 1990s. By the end of the decade, Timberland's sound had been heard in records from artists such as SWV, Destiny's Child, Nicole Wray, Jay-Z, Nas. Most of his production work during this period was reserved for his original stable of collaborators: 2 Missy Elliott albums, Super Duper Fly and The Real World, a second effort by Genuine, 100% Genuine, and Playa's debut album, Cheers to You. Timberland produced much, if not all, of the material on many of their albums during this period, and also made 2 albums of his own, one with Magoo and 1 solo album. Timberland's own raps, which were usually ghostwritten by Elliott, Magoo, or his younger brother Garland Mosley, aka Sebastian, were almost always accompanied by other MCs, including his main collaborators and numerous guest artists.